Excuse me. Hello? Hello? This is Julie. I'm sorry, I can't hear anything. I hit record and then all of a sudden I can't hear anything.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, I can hear you now. I don't know what you did, but it's working. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
super
thank you.
good.
Thank you for your patience. All right, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Lansbury.
Okay,
Second? Oh, I can't. Can I second?
Yeah.
Is it on? Okay,
Yeah.
second.
You're the alternate for Supervisor Sandy, so
I
the
can't.
second would ideally come.
so he can't second it?
Ideally, I believe it would come from a member.
So you should have gone to law.
Yes,
school.
he seconds.
Yeah.
All right, so who could second it then? You're saying I have to second it? Or Bill?
Right here.
Okay, all right, Bill seconds.
I'm gonna call.
Okay,
I'm gonna do the names now, okay?
go ahead, go ahead.
Member Chapman, absent. Member Biasi,
Here.
Member Lansberg.
Here.
And Member Sandy.
Here.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That brings us to public comment, which is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Yolo Animal Services Planning Agency on subjects related to this committee's business and not otherwise on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 2 minutes, subject to change. Do we have any public speakers this morning?
No, we don't have any public comment slips.
We have no comment.
There are no oh, we do have one. Anne would like to speak. Anne,
Okay.
you have 2 minutes.
Good morning, Ann.
I'm trying, good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, quite well.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in and say that I would very much like you to support an animal shelter and get it moving a little bit. There's always a lot of talking and I know that a lot of planning has to go into it, but I hope we're working more towards getting it done and not sitting around just discussing it. Anyway, thank you.
Appreciate that, Ann. Thank you. Anyone else?
We have no
No.
additional speakers online, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If not, we'll close off the public comment period. Ask for approval of the consent agenda if so moved. Can I have a motion?
Biasi moves approval of the consent calendar.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. We'll call the roll.
Member Biasi,
Aye.
Member Lansberg.
Aye.
Member Sandy.
Here. Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, that takes us to the regular agenda to appoint a vice chair.
Yes, hello. John Rowe, Management Analyst with Yolo County. So per the agreement that established the Yolo Animal Services Planning Agency, JPA, you're supposed to have a chair and a vice chair. The former vice chair was Mayor Wade Cowan, who has since retired. Since the vice chair spot is vacant, it would be, you should select a new person to fill that role
Okay,
from your membership.
is there any interest in Bill?
I think there's
Would
a
you
lot
be
of
willing to
interest
do
in
it?
Bill Biasi.
I would be happy.
Okay, thank you, sir.
It's a winners.
So it's been moved, Rich seconds to appoint Bill Biasi as the vice chair of the Animal Services Planning Agency. You call the roll, please.
Member Biasi,
Aye.
Member Lansberg.
Aye.
Member Sandy.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Bill. Next is item 7, which is, well, item 6, we just completed. Item 7, receive a verbal update on shelter operations. Stephanie, you doing that?
Stephanie Amato, Director of County Animal Services. So we have been quite busy at the shelter. So just a few things that we have participated in. So we were at Picnic Day, which was a great place to recruit volunteers and fosters for our foster kittens. That's definitely something that we are needing. So we got out there.
You went to, excuse me.
Sorry.
So you went to campus?
Yeah, so I had staff who went and we had a booth and participated. We are also participating in the Touch a Truck event in Davis at the end of this month, and it's for Natalie Corona's the corner for Natalie's Corner. So we will be bringing an animal services truck and our rescue truck, and be able to have people explore that and give demonstrations on, all the things that we have. And then also I'll be bringing our spokes dog. So Ellie will be making an appearance as well for that.
We have a spokes dog.
I have a spokes dog. Yes. So she is a cattle dog from the shelter that I adopted. And so she's been going to classrooms and things like that. So working on that. So any time that anyone wants Miss Ellie to come, she's a 25-pound cattle dog. So, and she loves people. So
City of Woodland has a similar but better event called Rev, Rumble, and Roar. 'Cause
Yes.
Touch a Truck is trademarked, by the way. Love to have you there. So follow up.
absolutely. Absolutely. So that's
It's good to know we're covered. So Jim, remember that if we ever have a board member not show up, we could just use the spokes dog.
oh yeah, she would love to sit in a chair, and she does smile for selfies and everything. So she would love to do that. So we were able to with working with county HR to get an extra help ACA position. In the past, it's just been a general extra help position, but this specifically is for ACA, which is an animal care attendant. It's a part-time position. And the language has changed, so it includes high school students with a work permit. And so that's going to be perfect for the summer. So I received 52 applicants from our first big push. And so I've sorted through those, and we're hoping to get core group of people who, with a balance of UC Davis students, so they'll be part-time, people who have graduated, and also those high school students. And we're really trying to gear up for kitten season, which has already started. So we're really needing fosters, especially those emergency fosters. We do have an event June 3rd. It's our kitten shower, and UC Davis, the fraternity Phi Delta Theta, hosted last year. It's their community service project, and we'll be doing the shelter shower there as well. Now, as far as some of the improvements that we've been working on, there's a new project manager through General Services he came out, and we walked the property again at the shelter. The roof and gutters, I think John's going to talk more about. It's more of the deferred maintenance, but prioritizing the basics first, so then we can really start working on the interior of the kennels. And improving security as well. So fencing and camera upgrades. I've been working with the county on that. So we'll be installing new systems. So again, we're having great adoptions, always looking for more volunteers and other events to be involved in.
Have you put into practice any additional security procedures around the number of people staffing the agency, et cetera?
Not for security reasons. So we have some new security measures in place at this point. Eventually the front gate will be video monitored. So, and you'll have to be let in, buzzed in. So that's going to be a big change for a lot of people, but I think that's going to be a pretty big necessity. So.
Well, given the calamity you experienced, I'm just concerned that we not to dismiss you, but not have young, vulnerable people in there who might be victimized. We just need to be sure that people are safe there.
Absolutely. So we have installed new gates in the middle of the walkway. So we are working on it. And again, just waiting we had someone do the walkthrough. So just waiting to have them come up with a price, obviously, and then install the video entry will be, I think, a huge piece.
So they'd have to be buzzed in to get in the
Yes.
building.
Yep, and the girls in the front office would be able to see. So it's, because right now there's no camera coverage right in the front of that walkway. And so this would be able to talk to people and also, reduce the amount of people coming in with their animals. We could triage them better that way
Where were you when you were attacked?
in the hallway with no
No
cameras.
coverage?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the background on that?
You want to give a quick background, Stephanie? Are you comfortable doing it?
Yeah, I can. On August 3rd of last year, there was a person who was released from jail. We had picked up his dog. And so he came to collect his dog and was high. And my staff came to get me in my office. I went out to make sure to close a gate where there were students and other staff. And he assaulted me. So yes, so that is physically. So again, brick wall, all the other details I don't have to go into at this point, but yes. So and I'm still 8 months later dealing with that, but that's it is a problem. And we've also worked with the jail more on, when someone is going to be released, at least we have a heads up. And so that is something that is helpful as well. So, but I'm working on a process so that way, even, I don't think those individuals need to be collecting their animals from us right there. So we're trying to figure out logistically, how can we, either meet them a little bit off of our property or how to work that out. But they don't need to be in the front office with, a person who was trying to adopt a kitten was in the office when all this was going on with me too. So that's just.
Maybe meet at the sheriff's department.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when they get released, we can walk to the back. Yeah, we're just trying to figure out logistically how to make all that happen, but yes. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just one question. There's some other issues that we're dealing with in the city, county 2x2 on jail releases. Was he from Woodland or some other city?
He was, I believe he was from West Sacramento, I want to say.
Bring that up again. As you know, working on that issue.
So,
Sorry.
no, thank you. Yeah,
It's a big topic. We had some other events in Woodland that
okay.
transpired with people that were booked and released in the middle of the night and causing issues in our city.
They frequently come.
Winners instead of Woodland.
Yeah. They frequently come to us even if they don't have an animal. So that's something that because we're just right there. So, and they see cars and they, ask to charge phones and, there's a lot of things. And so my staff it's not uncommon for us to have to, step in and do things, but this one was way off. So, I mean, this incident was, yeah.
Stephanie was very brave and resilient to this whole attack, and so I'm grateful to her for what unfortunately she had to go through. But it's pointing out areas where you're right, Rachel. We just need to be improving operations.
Supposedly they're working on it. I know they had some safeguards in place, but we need to be comprehensive.
Absolutely.
Taken back to where they're from, with or without their dog.
Right.
Bring it up to you.
Right. Happy to.
All right. Anything else on your report?
No.
That's it?
I should end on a happier note, but
I know at several meetings, we talked about the contract with UC Davis Veterinary Services. And I know that you've been talking about renegotiating that. It seemed to be pretty one-sided with UC Davis in control of everything. Have you made any progress on that?
I think, John, are you going to be
Yeah,
covering that?
I can answer that right now.
Okay.
We're currently in talks with UC Davis as part of the current contract expires in June. So we're currently negotiating that scope and discussing with them how we can best move forward with that agreement. We don't have anything concrete to report at this moment, but we will be providing an update to both this body and the Board of Supervisors in June on our progress with that contract and with the other contracts we're working on with our city partners as well.
And I think if you run into a brick wall there in terms of those discussions, maybe we should ramp it up to the head of the vet school or one of the deans. I think above the level that we usually deal with if necessary. Maybe Gary and Gerardo, but have discussions with who's the dean of the vet school.
Remember who
I
it is
can't
now.
remember who it is now, but because to me, that contract is just so essential to our operations. The way it operates now, it's like putting our hands behind our back and handcuffing ourselves.
Yeah, we're exploring all of the possibilities on this scope and any alternatives that we might be able to explore if there's.
The Campus government relations is aware of these talks going forward, and I'm having lunch with Mabel, who's in charge of their campus government relations. Serendipitous.
I bet that they're not.
Huh?
My guess is that they're not, but
Well, so I can
I
tell.
think
you
they have been
how-
recently engaged.
See how it's going.
I'd be happy to help in any way I
Yeah,
can.
it'd be
too,
great
as
to
well.
have you as well, Jim.
Yeah, we're happy for any.
If we're gonna go to the dean, et cetera. I would suggest you. Oh,
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, we're happy for any support that any of you can provide, and we'll be sure to reach out for any support that's needed.
rest of your report?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to that. Let me go ahead and just put up.
Oh, excuse me, Chair, we have someone raising their hand, I think, on this item, so I don't know if you want to take public comment or not.
Actually, I would like to hear the comment if the group's willing. You know who it is?
Yes, we have Evelyn Dale.
Okay. Welcome her in, please. Ms. Dale?
She just needs to unmute herself.
Ms. Dale, unmute yourself.
Okay. Sorry. I'm glad you noticed me. Yeah, because I somehow or another I wasn't able to let anybody know I was here. So I'm here.
Oh, good.
Um,
Glad you're here.
Me too. But I just wanted to reiterate comments that I've made in the past, and Anne mentioned earlier, one of the other participants, that, you know, we really are hoping that the Animal Services JPA will be able to move forward on furthering the and building a new animal shelter. I just heard apparently there was an issue with the animal shelter being so close to the jail, I guess we'd say. And anyway, I don't know whether the new shelter would be remaining where it currently is, but the location is of some question. But whatever you decide, I hope it will improve the shelter and we can get a better building that can serve our community in more varied ways, reaching out to all people in the community. So I hope you are moving forward and getting this job done as quickly as possible. That's about pretty much it. I'm here watching and hoping.
Thank you, Ms. Dale. We appreciate your comment. Okay. Go back to your
All right,
report.
the next speaker I have is Eileen Sametz.
Oh, I didn't know there was anyone else. Good
Yeah,
morning,
there's
Eileen.
two more. We have Eileen and then there's another person after that.
Okay, good to know. Eileen, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. And yes, I wanted to second what Evelyn was just saying, that we so need a new shelter. At the very least, we need to get a surgical unit up and running for a for spays and neuters to be available, not only for pets, but the whole feral. I volunteer with Yolo SPCA for feral trap neuter release. And so as been mentioned, there's kitten season coming up. And so the most essential thing that's needed is if it's just a single building, or, to start with that, we might wind up having a kind of satellite buildings on the premises. But I do think that where the shelter is the best location for a number of reasons, because you can't have a shelter just anywhere. You can't put it in neighborhoods because there's built-in nuisance issues. So, noise, odors, stuff like that. So I don't think trying to transplant the animal shelter is a good idea. I think we need to work with what we've got. we're working on, there's supposed to be reuse of certain facilities there that we really need to see how many, what space could be used for doing potentially, satellite buildings for the different purposes rather than necessarily one building. And one other thing about the UCD stuff, I totally agree that this is, that contract has got to be straightened out. And I strongly support and would hope that Jim and Gary would be able to participate in that, because I think your presence would make a huge difference together with staff doing that negotiating, to be honest, because they respond much more to, electeds than they are, I think, going to respond necessarily to staff. And I'm not trying to criticize staff. I think staff's doing the best they can, but I think that you'll get more attention from them, particularly the dean and even the director of Vet Mid Teaching Hospital, Dr. Stern. Anyway, that's what I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Much appreciated.
You bet.
Who's our final caller?
Yes, Chair, we have Lisa Gaines.
Morning, Ms. Gaines.
Morning, how is everybody?
Good, I think.
So Mark Stetter is the dean of the vet school right now.
Thank
I
you.
actually had a meeting with Administrator Pinetto, and we talked about setting up sort of a third leg school of experts. And he asked me to put together a list of experts in the industry to for you guys to ask questions and to provide additional information. So I have been compiling a list, and that list consists of a number of professors from the veterinary school. It also consists of a number of leaders from major pharmaceutical manufacturers of animal health industry, and some others who've all agreed to participate. I need to submit that list for your approval or his approval, and then we'll have a committee to do that. But there's a number of people on that advisory committee that would be happy to facilitate a conversation with the dean and how we can work together with multiple departments. So that's
Good.
kind of been in the work in the background while we were waiting on things to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Gaines. We appreciate that.
That's it.
Is that your end of your comment? Here, so any other speakers?
I have no additional hands raised, Chair.
There are,
There are no additional hands
Okay.
raised.
and we'll close it off and move forward with your report, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me go ahead and get this up on the screen here. Okay. Let's get to the screen. Let's go. Just a second. I'll make sure you all can see it as well. And moderator, is that appearing on the broadcast as well?
Yes, it is. Thank you, John.
Thank you. Okay, so this will be a reiteration of the report that we made to the board at the March 7th, the Board of Supervisors meeting on March 7th. So just to reiterate the framework that we have developed moving forward with the transition for animal services. Animal services management is going to be transitioning to CAO, while operations are still under the sheriff's office during this interim phase. Once we determine a permanent placement for animal services as a whole, they will all transfer concurrently to that final resting place. We're currently focused and in the midst of our successor service agreements. All of our current agreements with the cities and with UC Davis are terminating in June of this year, at the end of the fiscal year. So we're working on developing new contracts and working on the scopes of work and making sure that the contracts are set up to serve both the county and the cities and UC Davis, to the best of our interests, the public's interests, and our partners' interests. Transition, we're targeting 6 to 12 months from the date this report was first given in March. So we're returning every 3 months for status update. So our next report should be due in June. So we'll be reporting to both the Board of Supervisors and this body again in June with further status updates. And we're focused very heavily on operational issues. We're not currently looking at the new shelter as an immediate concern. We're addressing the immediate contracting concerns, maintenance needs, and so on. We did develop a comparative analysis of our costs versus peer counties. Those attachments are all on the board report at the March 7th meeting. So I would refer anyone who wants to view those pieces to look at the March 7th board agenda items, and all of the analyses and documentation is available there. But our general analysis showed that we were comparable as far as number of FTEs and general per capita costs that we experience for animal services within the county. We're not extremely out of line, either below or above peer agencies. Here's a short list of deferred maintenance needs. As Stephanie mentioned, we are actively working on these, getting quotes and figuring out costs and timing for these replacements and upgrades. As has been noted, security upgrades are desperately needed, and there's other physical upgrades such as the roof replacement, gutters, general lot upgrades to make sure that the building is safe and functional, both for the people there and the animals that are housed there. So we're working on all of that currently. We'll have a more developed report at the June reporting timeline. We do have a reserve account that funds are rolled into whenever there's any sort of underspending on a contract, that sort of thing. That reserve account is what we're going to be utilizing to fund a lot of these deferred maintenance costs. And current balance projection is $930,000 for that fund at the end of this fiscal year. That is constantly being tracked and updated as we move along. Next steps. As we've mentioned, we are in talks with UCD regarding the contract negotiations. There's active negotiations being undertaken by Alexander Tengolix, our manager of governmental relations with the county administrator's office. And we are actively engaged and having a back and forth with them on that. And we're working with the cities. There should be a scope of work and budget document that we're sending out, I believe, today or tomorrow to all of our city partners, showing the projected budget for next year and our anticipated costs for contracting for animal services. Deferred maintenance, I've already covered, and we will be providing a recommendation for final transition following the completion of those immediate needs at animal services. And then this was the recommended action we presented to the board at the March 7th meeting. Again, I would refer everyone to the minutes of the March 7th Board of Supervisors meeting for further details on those materials and what actions were taken. And that closes out my current presentation. If you have any questions, anything you'd like to raise to us, we're happy to answer anything you have.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm trying to get up to speed on all this, being new on this committee. But so are there ideas on where you think it might transition to management in the future? You know, temporarily I see, but what about?
Yeah, for permanent, we're exploring a lot of potential opportunities. We can't say anything concrete at this moment, but it's essentially we're keeping our options open as we narrow it down. What I can say is when you look around the state, there's a lot of different models. Some places keep it under their health agencies. Some places keep it under their sheriff's office, as is our current situation here in Yolo County. I believe Sacramento treats it as a community service agency, so it's under more of their community services division. And each of those models has a different take on how you approach, whether you're approaching it as a community health concern, community service concern. And then there's also the possibility of animal services functioning as an independent department, where it would have like a department head level staff member who reports directly to the county administrator. So we are also exploring that possibility as well, but I don't have anything concrete to say yet. We're early in that process.
And so we're looking at just upgrading the current facility and looking at a new facility sometime in the future.
Yeah, the immediate needs, we need to address those immediate maintenance needs before we can explore any sort of major upgrades or major changes. And then of course, if we're going to change where it's housed, that may need to be decided in advance of a new shelter.
Thank
I don't
you.
know if you've been out there, Bill, but if not, you're welcome to go out. Stephanie will take you.
Yeah,
on a
I
tour
was gonna contact Stephanie and see if I can set up a time for a tour, yeah.
and show you around, get a sense of.
Yeah.
How the facility is.
Uh, I think we had been talking in the past about a dual track, working on getting our house in order in terms of new contracts and uh, where animal services will be housed and so forth. But I think we don't want to get too far away from planning for a new shelter where we can do it. We don't have to completely finish everything before we take steps towards examining either a new shelter or a rebuilt shelter. I think it's pretty clear since I think or 10 years ago when our facilities report came out that the shelter is inadequate, and it's going to be more and more inadequate over time. And so we do have to face that issue. The other thing is, if we actually decide on what we want to do and have a plan, then we can.
I'm sorry, this is the moderator. I just lost sound. I can't hear anything.
This was, that we actually had 50% remote.
I can hear now.
Yep, at the site. Weird.
Okay, I
Interesting.
don't know why that works, but it works.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Should I say what I said again? What was the last thing I said that you could hear? If anyone remembers, I'll just repeat it, but in a shorter way. We do need to have a new shelter. Our facilities report has shown that for years, and of course you have to do deferred maintenance, but we really do need a new shelter. And if we can get to a point where we agree on something, then we can start applying for grant money. And right now there's been a lot of grant money out there. We don't have to pay for it all ourselves if we can get a grant. And I think that's going to be the key, because it's going to be expensive. But other projects have come together from various sources. I go over there, it comes back.
Yeah, I switched. There's a lot of support from nonprofit groups as well.
I think so, yeah.
Participating in that.
And one of the things that the nonprofits need is something to fundraise around. Yeah, you can't just fundraise around a concept, but you gotta, this is it. This is what the new shelter is going to be. It's easier.
Richard, Ken, do you have a comment?
Well, we would agree that a new facility is required. The question really for us at this point is we're interested in what it's going to cost us in the city. But I think before we can even think about that, Jim, is what is our model of management look like, and how that relates to our costs. Certainly, I agree that the grant money is an important factor, but we're also looking at ongoing costs as our budget. As we scrutinize our budget in the future, we have to consider those things and how they relate to the rest of our needs in our community. Certainly, we would first agree that a new shelter is required at some point. Question is, how does it get paid? Who's going to run it?
Sure. And that's why I was suggesting kind of a dual track, working on both at the same time.
You made a reference to the amount of the reserve, which I thought was 1.5. Is that correct?
Currently 930,000 is projected for the end of the
Can
fiscal
you
year.
flip us back to that page, can you?
Yeah, let me that back up just a moment. There we go. There it is. Yeah, estimated reserve account fund balance at end of fiscal year 2023 is $930,000, which we will be maintaining a reserve about 10% of annual operational expenditures. That comes out to about 300,000 that we typically keep in reserve. As kind of an emergency fund, though that's not, we can spend that down if we need to utilize it.
You advance that.
These are next steps.
Again, answer, please. I'm probably making things up again. I didn't see it.
John, that 930,000, was that how you're gonna pay the 550 that the service needs that you need?
Oh yeah, the different deferred maintenance needs, the reserve fund is our first, that's the first usage of it, is those sort of capital needs, reserve maintenance needs, or if we need to purchase a new vehicle, any sort of major one-time cost.
Even if you spent that 550 out of that 930, you're still meeting your 10%.
Yes,
So is the 930 what we have in our possession now?
that's what's projected to be in the reserve at the end of this current fiscal year. Yeah.
That's what's projected to be in the reserve.
I can speak to Sheriff Finance and get an exact figure for the reserve balance as of this moment in time, but yeah, it's several $100,000 right now.
Okay.
I had a question.
Yes.
I know nonprofit, Bill brought up nonprofits. I thought they were already starting to fundraise. Had some money set aside or started set aside. Is that?
Oh,
fictional
there is a nonprofit that has raised money
for the new shelter?
for a new shelter. Yes, that's correct.
Do you have any idea where they're at?
Stephanie might know, they raised some money.
They
but
did.
They told us that they're at a kind of a
It's kind of a plateau. so,
plateau
yeah.
because they can't go out and tell people this is what we're raising money for. They
You have something to sell.
Right.
Yeah, that's the crucial next step. And there's some big donors that would probably come in, but they're gonna want to see what am I donating to?
And also we have the Friends of Yolo County Animal Services. So, and right now what they do is they fundraise for medical cases, like things that the shelter needs right now, but they would be another source that when, that's also why I'm getting all these updated quotes for some of this is just going to give us an idea of, what's the cost, right? What's it going to be? And so then we have a lot of people who do want to donate, but they just want to know what are they donating to? So I think we're on the right path. So
So are you aware of some of these grants that Jim referenced, or you are? Can you typify them or describe them in any way?
if it's, well, the Cal for All Animals is the state grant system that the Correct Shelter Medicine program is also overseeing. And the grant cycles that they have opened up, the first one is just a welcome, which we did get, was $1,000 just for participating. But then they also put something there. It's not meant to build new shelters, though. It's specifically, they cannot build an actual building, but they can help improve programs. And so we had applied during their last open cycle. It was for a 3-year grant or a 3-year proposal, which the cost would have been a total of almost $1 million. And it was to propose to the spay neuter group, Yolo County Spay Neuter Group. This would have funded initially their staffing, a transport vehicle. It would have got them up and running for those 3 years. And then with her donations or their donations through Yolo Spay Neuter, they could have continued to fund it. We were denied, and it was, I guess they received an overwhelming response. And also it was offered that if I could scale it down. And to be honest, that was it was very well laid out, and it really relied on each of the steps. So to me, it was just something that, I couldn't take pieces out to get $100,000. It really was, we needed all those parts. Not to say that we wouldn't be eligible again if it comes open, but there isn't an open grant right now. Again, there's grants to improve the kennel, the internal configurations for cats. We already have those because UC Davis did that for us in years past. It really is targeting those shelters. I know we feel like we are funded and underserved, but it has really helped some of the shelters down in the Central Valley, so, and in the South. And so this is a state funded project. And so it's not just for us as well. But again, I'm involved. I'm on calls every other week to just stay involved, stay seeing what, getting ideas for how we can reduce cost. The spay neuter is a huge piece. I mean, and Amanda Hartman's group is ready to find a location. So that's something I know that we had talked about, trying to put them next to the shelter on the probation property. So that's something that I think that we need to, at least in the meantime of the determination of what's going to happen to those portables. I know through Crisis Now, there's other plans, but really this is a mobile clinic that it just needs electric and sewer hookup to park, and they could be up and running. They received a veterinarian who is going to cover their premise permit. So that's another big piece with the vet shortage, but they have found someone who would do that. And so now they are working on getting a vet tech and things like that. So we really just need a location if that's something that we can do. And it doesn't have to be a permanent location. Again, it is a mobile clinic, but it would be better if it could sit, for a while and not drive around. But that's another option. So, and that would at least help with the spay neuter of the TNR. So that's the trap neuter return, and then also some owned animal clinics as well. And if they're next door to us, we could also help provide microchips, rabies vaccines, licensing. We could do all in one and help that way. So I really feel
Need from us to make that happen.
a decision on if we can use I think it's a 50 by 50 spot is what John Ramming has, I think, presented in the past, with hookup for sewer, because they have to have legally a bathroom in their, working bathroom in their rig, and electricity. So that's really.
So can we bring that to the board? Has that been presented, a request to the board for that?
So the probation, Mark Bryan, Deputy County Administrator. The location that I believe Stephanie's referring to is those probation temporaries that probation vacated. That is currently, at least for a shorter period of time now, I think it's coming to a close, but it's currently housing the day reporting center for adult probationers. And for a while had the COVID testing center, which I believe now has ended. The original plans for Crisis Now were to go into that area and to reconfigure with an architect and a general contractor to reconfigure that for Crisis Now. I think the board is going to hear at its Crisis Now update at an upcoming meeting a change in plans. Whether or not that entails completely abandoning any ideas for that probation site, I don't know for sure. But that was the conflict there. I think if there was nothing going to go in there, I think that's probably a viable place to look at both a sewer hookup, because there is sewer hookup for those temporary buildings as well as electricity. I think the key is, is the county no longer going to use that at all for Crisis Now? What's the status of Crisis Now? And that update is coming to the board by Health and Human Services and General Services at one of the upcoming meetings.
It'd be good to have a discussion on.
Yes, absolutely.
Crisis Now is delayed for a couple of years, I think.
Correct. Well, and there's also the idea that we may not be putting into place a county-run physical plant for that, or a physical location for that contractors might be a better approach at this point because of the delays that have been experienced. I don't know if that has been a completely finalized version. So I would be remiss to, or I'm reluctant to commit 100% that we have we could do that. I think we need to hear from Director Sullivan and Director Pistakini on exactly what the new plans are and if the board is going to approve that proposal.
Okay, yeah, I know there's a lot of things. In play. This is an urgent need.
Oh, 100%.
We make for every cat or dog that isn't spayed or neutered, we make the problem worse. No, the problem gets worse. And so if we can figure this out, and I know Gary and I contributed our Community Rescue Act funds
To Amanda,
to that
yes.
project.
Yep, right.
So let's try to figure out how to
Yeah.
make that work.
So John, let's follow up. Let's follow up, make sure that we know.
Mr. Hyatt?
Just want to follow up on the grant that you mentioned. How much was that for? And did they offer 100,000 towards?
They didn't, it was a, could you come up with this? We could offer potentially, between 100 and 300. It was one of those, just to rework it. And I mean, and honestly, it was one of those.
I just wondered if there was a gap that they couldn't fund. Is there, value in looking at the reserve funds to say, if we took some of the reserve funds to fill the gap, right? Could we leverage, those reserve funds to get $300,000 out of the state and help us all long-term a better spay neuter? So we can
No,
take that
that's
offline and
another, yeah,
explore that.
absolutely.
One other point I was gonna make back at the having a plan for a shelter. We elected officials all got letters from Congressman Thompson, got one from Senator Dodd, and we are Curry saying, hey, we're going through our appropriations process. What do you need money for? And I wanted to say animal shelter, but you can't really do that unless there's something to donate to. So I think if we get to the point where we have something on the table, we can start making progress.
We need the plans with the estimated costs and all that.
Exactly,
Can do
yeah.
the same thing, requesting things. You have to show us what you're gonna do before we can appropriate anything.
Absolutely.
And I think just the plans that were proposed, was it 2015? Is that, or
2015.
2015?
Yeah.
Animal sheltering has changed. And so
Right.
the need, for long-term housing is not a priority. The need is to have those resources to reach out to the communities to keep the animals from coming in the first place. So that, the pandemic did show us that, right? But then just access to care. That's the biggest piece right now is the shelter. We are doing so much more than just spaying and neutering, giving a few vaccines and sending an animal out to a home. I mean, now we're working with our nonprofit to get, additional diagnostics done because adopters don't have the access to care once they take on this new animal. And so we're really trying to, keep those animals in the homes, and our rescue partners are experiencing the same thing. So where we would just put a rescue plea out and someone would come and take them and they would get them the vet care, the surgeries, the things like that, they don't have the resources either. So the shelter, and we're not the only one doing that. The shelters are having to do more for their animals to get them just out to a rescue or out to the homes. So, and the animals that we have in the shelter are not the same. The pit bulls and chihuahuas, that's when I first started 10 years ago, but now we have Malinois, shepherd mixes, Anatolians. We have, working dogs, huskies, all those animals that really should not be in a shelter. So yeah, those are, and a new building wouldn't help those animals, right? But a new building would allow for the animals, when they are in our care, to be better served, but also we need to get those resources out into the community. So that's really
Be good to see your 2023 vision.
absolutely.
To the extent.
Yeah.
Everything else going on can give that to us because we could maybe make
Okay.
progress on this side as well.
Well, absolutely.
And I apologize, was there a question on the end of your point that I missed?
Mostly, I'm curious to understand more what the proposal was for the grant, and is there a way to sort of fill the gap that was not eligible for state funding? If I can make one more point while I have the floor, Chair. I want to give credit to the staff. We brought up the issue of the reserve funds and kind of what's the policy around how we allocate those and prioritize them. What are the partner agencies' roles in sort of weighing in on prioritization? So the policy that you guys have seen, hopefully now is sort of fruit from that. So it's great progress towards, more collaborative, partnership and management. So thanks to the county staff for that.
Anything else?
Nothing further from staff this
What are
time.
your next steps contemplate?
Our current steps, next steps are finalizing our agreements, our successor agreements with the cities and UC Davis, and making sure that we have solid agreements going into the next fiscal year and fiscal years beyond. We have some action items here. We'll follow up on that Crisis Now site and the current status. We'll look at the potential for leveraging a portion of the reserve for any sort of like grant fund matching, if that's something that would help us gain grant funding. And yeah, those are our big items here. And I'll talk to Alexander Tingolix, our manager of governmental relations, about the dual track proposal that Supervisor Provenza has raised as far as exploring a new shelter.
I know for both Jim and I, a timeline is going to be important for
Mhm.
ensuring that we continue making progress.
Right.
And get stuff done here.
Yeah, we're looking at our next report and update to you in June. That'll be to the Board of Supervisors and then this body as well after that.
Okay, anything else?
Chair, we have a hand raised. So I don't know if you want to take public comment on that last item.
How many?
Well, let's see, we have 2 at the moment.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, the first speaker is Tricia Hilliard.
Why don't Tricia?
Hi, guys. Hi,
How
how
are
are
you?
you?
Good.
Good. I wanted to speak on behalf of Friends to let you know that we have been able to step in and provide some really cool stuff that help the dogs, like shelter or coverage, so that we can now exercise dogs when it's raining out or when it's really hot out. And those are some of the grants that we've applied for. We rely mainly on community donors. Our average donor is, $20, and it's a reoccurring donor that really supports us. And we have quite a few of them, but we have had some success with grants, and the Glide Foundation is one of them. They just actually gave us enough money to put in some dog grass that we're going to be putting in prior to the summer. That's really going to help. It's also easier to keep clean than the pea gravel we have out there now, and then we don't have to worry about weeds. So, but like everyone here is talking about, we have to present something that proposal that they can see, and that's what they're funding. So we've had a lot of success every year. They've given us money, and every year we've been able to make just a little bit of difference. And we are really looking forward to bringing this and merging with whoever we need to help, either, working towards just getting a facility that is safe and that is for not only staff, but also for animals. I know there's a lot of talk about working with and getting the building up to code, which is amazing. That's awesome. Also to like the kennels, we need safe places to house our dogs as well. And so that's something that we can working forward, helping you guys to make that happen as well. So I just wanted to say that. One last thing real quick. I don't think Amanda Hartman is looking to use that building. I think she's looking for a place to put her rig on, like a parking lot or somewhere that they have access to water. And so that does need to happen like now. Like it shouldn't wait. We have too many unaltered animals out there, and it's a real big problem.
Okay, thank you, Tricia. It's good to hear from you, and thank you for all your leadership.
Thank you.
All right, who's the next speaker?
Next speaker is Eileen Sametz.
Hi, Eileen.
Hi again. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again.
Oops. Sorry, Eileen, I accidentally didn't allow you to speak. So go ahead. We'll start you over again.
Can I start all over again?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. My name is Eileen Sametz. I just, to some of the new members, I just want to introduce myself. I worked at the Vet Med Teaching Hospital for 35 years before retiring as a clinical microbiologist at VMTH. And I can tell you this issue is a health, welfare, and safety issue of getting a new animal shelter or a campus is what I think will be the best solution to move forward. And regarding costs, the longer this gets delayed, the more it is costing, is what you need to understand, because the animals are multiplying. And so then those costs come back on the county. What do we do with them? Because we cannot find homes for all of them. And the idea of backsliding into euthanasia of all these animals, because we are not preventing them from, from being born, is a big part of the problem. So that's why, as you've heard several people speak now about the spay and neuter, we have this mobile unit, which can only do so much, but it's wonderful that we have access to that. We need a location for that. But also we need a location. The first thing to figure out is getting the location for expanding the animal shelter. The fact that we're investing in facilities now it'd be crazy to kind of give all that up and move the shelter to a different location. So we need the space. We need the reuse of those facilities that are not being used anymore. We need a commitment on that space so we can move forward with solving the problem sooner than later. So I just want to make that appeal because I was also a planning commissioner at the city of Davis, and I can tell you, you cannot put an animal shelter anywhere. It's got built-in, as I mentioned before, noise issues, odor issues, and the fact that the location right now is pretty centrally located, considering that it's got a stretch from West Sac to Winters and Davis. It makes the most sense, and the ability to get there by I-5 or 102. It's just the perfect location, but we have to, since we're reinvesting in it, we need to move forward with getting that extra space. But please, let's not just say that this is Yolo County has expanded enormously since the shelter was built, and yet there's been no reinvestment in the shelter. It's been unfortunately it's been pushed to the side for decades now, but we've got to address it now because the animal explosion is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Appreciate those comments.
We have an additional hand raised, Chair Evelyn Dale.
Okay. Ms. Dale?
Yep, I had to unmute myself. I just wanted to reiterate that I absolutely think the points about the animal population increasing cannot be underscored enough. The fact that our population of humans in Yolo County is also expanding, not unsurprisingly, I'm sure you're all aware of that. These are part and parcel of why we need to have a new shelter and why we need to have a shelter that reaches out to the whole community so that we can serve it better. That's all I have to say. I hope you will move forward and get the job done. Thank you.
Appreciate your thoughts, Ms. Dale. All right, is that the final comment?
Yes, Chair, that was the final commenter.
Okay, I'm going to close it off and nail it shut here. Thank everyone for attending, and we will look forward to our next meeting, and we have a full agenda here to work on in the interim, so time well spent. Thank you. Meeting should adjourn. Thank you. Everybody.